Hey guys, it's video 14, I believe. I'm losing track of how many we made, but I'm going to look at chapter 7, lesson 6 today. This is one of those chapters where the people who make the book say, let's see how much we can try to confuse the kids after we've taught them lessons 1 through 5 on how to find similarity and stuff by completely changing up the proportions and how they're made to screw things up. But I'm going to teach you what the important stuff is, so that when you look at these, hopefully you're not as lost as what you might be if you were looking at these without my guidance. Because looking right away at the reteach, I'm going to try to teach as we go. The very first problem, I'm going to do both of these problems on the reteach, but then I'm only going to do one problem from the skills practice and the homework that'll allow me to ask more questions on an assignment or what have you. But the main thing is to remember how to graph. Okay, if it says graph triangle XYZ with vertices x is -3, 5. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is where x would be. And then it says, and they offset their x and y axis a little bit, so kind of be aware of that because it might look a tiny bit different when I graph this. Y is -3, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Here's where y is. Okay, and those would connect. And then it says z is 0, 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. Z would be right here. And you would connect those. And that's your first triangle. Label that point Z. And then it says your second triangle is ZLP with vertices. Z is at 0, 3. So this is still the Z here. Okay, then it says L is at 0, -1. Which would be right here. I'm going to erase my x-axis here for a second because I don't want to overlap my colors too much. That's right there. And then that was point L. And then it goes to P, which is 6, -1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, -1. Okay, and that would make this line go here. And it would also make this line go there. So we have these two triangles where, minus some human error, you can tell they share this common line, where when we used to talk about slope, a slope has, or a line has a slope, I should say. And we remember saying slope is the change in y over the change in x. We said rise over run. We said it's the up down first over the right left second. That's the main thing you really have to just take in mind when you're doing these. Is if I sit here and I look at this little triangle, my up down from x to y was 2, right? And I went down to -2. And from y over to z I went 1, 2, 3 over 3. And guess what? That's the slope of that line is -2/3. Guess what? If I did this one, shouldn't it be the same slope? I went down 1, 2, 3, 4. And I went over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And guess what that reduces to? -4, 6 reduces to -2/3. The slope is the same for both of those triangles. Okay, when they're doing all this mess, the final answer is just -2/3. Instead, though, they're saying now, okay, what if I do my proportions, x, y, and where I get upset with why they teach it this way is, before we would have done xy is to zl. Okay, and it is true as long as we do our proportions the same, but now they're saying the same triangle xy and yz would have to be the same thing as zl to l, what was this one, p, I think, yep, zl as lp. Same triangle for the first two, same triangle for the second two this time. Okay, and so you're supposed to compare those, and what you would end up coming up with is the -2/3. But why worry about all that when you can simply, since we know slope is rise over run, find out how far up and down it goes, find out how far over it goes, and that makes things a heck of a lot easier. Okay, so I wanted to show you that simple way. I'm going to try not to erase too much. I'm going to try to just change colors here and there. That way we can get through all of the 4 problems, 1, 2, 3, 4 problems that I'm going to do for you, okay, and not have to spend a lot of time erasing. So I'm going to leave those up there for a second, and I'm going to look at number 2. And so on number 2, I'm going to use, say, red. And some of these may not show up quite as much when we do this, but you'll be able to see what's going on. This says graph ABE, where A is -4, -3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. That's where the axis of A is. Then it says B is at the origin, 0, 0. And then it says that E is at 0, -3. 1, 2, 3. So we're talking about a triangle that goes here, here, and here. The second point that I did was B. And this point down here was E. Okay, and then they compare it to this much larger triangle where ACD, vertices A is -4, -3, the same A. C is 4, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. That's where C is. And then we should have D at 4, -3, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, which makes sense that this would be my D now. And our triangle would look something like this. And the two triangles are, again, proportional to each other. So if I just take one of the triangles, you can do the smaller triangle and it'll give you the slope right away. To get from here to here, I went up 1, 2, 3 and over 1, 2, 3, 4. So guess what? For number 2, your slope is 3/4. Okay, and that's your answer for number 2. And then I'm going to skip to skills practice. Okay, and I'm going to do number 1 on the skills practice. I'm going to do it in green. We'll try. It has two triangles that are spaced out a little bit from each other this time. On these, you can tell that since they shared the same line, obviously the line was going to have the same slope. On this one, we're doing triangle CDE with C at -6, -3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. Here's where this C is. And then it says D is at -3, -2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. There's my D. And then my E is -3, -3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's this really skinny little triangle. That looks like that. Where if I went up 1, 1, 2, 3, it's a 1/3 triangle slope. If I do this other one, I should get the same thing. Where M is at 0, -1. So my M would be right here, where my C was earlier. Then my O is at 6, -1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's at the same place as my P was earlier. Okay, and I'm going to erase this because hopefully you're past that point. You should be now to this one that I'm on. And that goes there. That's where my O is now. And my N is that 6, +1. Another pretty skinny triangle that looks like this, where if you counted, this one up 2 and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, well guess what? 2, 6 reduces to. Okay, if I'm doing 1 on the next page, 2, 6 equals 1/3, right? If I reduce this top and bottom by 2. Okay, this triangle was 1/3 slope. This triangle was 2, 6. They're both the same, so they have a similar slope. Okay, maybe I do my last one in purple. And that means my last one's going to be on the homework practice page. First one on the homework practice page. And I am going to go ahead, since this is the last one, erase this guy so that we don't have too much of a mess. And you can take the time to catch up. You can take the time to pause your video to do that. You can take the time to really quick Fast forward through my erasing while I do this. And so, on this last one that I'm doing, which is number 1 on the homework practice, they have 2 triangles that they want us to graph. And again, this is huge too, that you have to remember how to graph these. Triangle EFG, where E is at 1, 9, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's where they say E is. F is at 1, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's where F is. Okay, and those would connect obviously. And then it says G is at 2, 5. Look how skinny that triangle is. Okay, it just goes over one spot. If I were to try to connect those, it would look something like that. Well, for that guy, this is a downhill line, so my slope's going to be negative, remember? And it doesn't go down 1, it goes down. It's going to be a negative slope, and it goes down 1, 2, 3, 4. Goes down negative 4. And it goes only over 1. So it's negative 4 over 1. That's probably going to be our answer. And it's definitely going to be our answer. But once we draw this other triangle, we know that this time they're connected. So my G is the same point, and 2, 1 is the next one. That's where point H is. Those would be connected. And that says I is at 3, 1, which is right here. So not only are these guys going to be similar, they're also going to be congruent, because this guy goes down 4 and over 1. So my answer is still for number 1 on the homework practice, negative 4 over 1. That's really all you're doing. They're just trying to make you do proportions on these guys to say, okay, EF and FG would be like saying GH to H. Is that an I that I didn't label, I think? That would be an I. And so all it's doing is comparing sides again to set up the proportions. But in the long run, you're trying to find the slope. And these are the slopes for each one of these problems. If you can do that, you can handle the rest of the problems. I'm going to have the answer keys available on Google Classroom. I'm also, what's very important, going to have an assignment on Google Classroom that I need you to do so that you can show me you know how to do these. Okay, that's all I have to do today. See you next time.